morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Dirty Pat Walsh channel with me, your host, Dirty Pat Walsh. It's funny, whenever I say that, it sounds like I'm saying, welcome back to the Dirty Pat Walsh channel. And then I always try to make it sound like Walsh, whatever. Technical problems behind the scenes here at Sound Kitchen Studios. Yeah, I'm sitting in the kitchen at Sound Kitchen Studios. There's the kitchen part and there's the studio part. And I'm just finding I like doing videos out here better because the lighting's a lot better. My studio is kind of a cave. So, but you know, if you flip through my older videos, you can see lots of my studio. So, but yeah, I like doing the videos out here now better. So I wanted to tell you all a story about when I was 14. I was fresh into high school, grade 9. I lived in a house with my brother, my sister, and my mother. My father was out of the picture at this point. And I had the coolest room any 14-year-old could ever ask for. I had, because it was basically an apartment that, like, I guess, you know, if somebody who was looking to rent out part of the house lived, like, was the primary owner, they could rent out this room, and it had its own bathroom, it had its own entry and exit. You know, it had everything. You know, if you threw a little hot plate in there, it'd be totally self-contained, you know. And that was my room, and I loved it. I loved it dearly. And you know, I had two ways in and out of the apartment. I could go in and out the outside door, or I could crank open the bathroom window and kind of flip out of that. I was younger then. Excuse me. So yeah, it was pretty cool because you know, I was running with the bad kids, you know, the punk rock crowd, and doing drugs all the time, and drinking a lot, and smoking cigarettes. You know, it was a tough time to be a kid, I gotta say, in the early '80s, especially when, you know, like a kid like me, like I was very introverted, you know, and very filled with a lot of anger, and I ran with the punk rock crowd, which was instant trouble, just instant trouble. This was the days when punk rock was dangerous still, you know. Anyhow, I was a pretty bad kid. Let's just say that. I know my mother loves me, but I was a pretty bad kid. So anyway, me and my buddy Wayne, now what would happen is we'd make plans for this during the daytime, and then I'd stay up till 3 in the morning or whatever, and my buddy Wayne would rip off his dad's car, and Wayne was only 14 too. He'd rip his dad's car, and you know, we'd drop acid and fucking go for a drive for a couple hours, you know, before Wayne's dad woke up and needed his car. Yeah, and that was a hell of a time, man. Flying high on acid and smoking weed and cruising around. Like, you know, there was a real power to being in a car and not being driven by your parents at that time, you know. Yeah, it was fun. And so, anyhow, one day, the day that kind of ended it all was Wayne had to, we got home late. Let's just say that. We got up after sunrise, and now suspicions had been arising about Wayne stealing his dad's car. He'd been asked about it, and he just denied it. I'd been asked about it by my mom, because my neighbors had seen me ducking in and out of the house at fucking 3 a.m. into a strange car, you know. And anyway, fucking Wayne, I got the story later. He had dropped me off at this point, but we were in school the next day, and we were still tripping balls. And Wayne had a couple bruises, and I'm like, dude, what happened when you fucking got home tonight? And he's like, my dad was waiting for me with a 2x4. And I guess he fucking laid the beats to his kid, Wayne, for stealing his car. We didn't do it anymore after that. When I got questioned about it, it was funny because I was obviously doing it, and, the neighbors saw me and told my mom, hey, we saw Patrick dipping out at 3 a.m. getting into a car. And, kind of the relationship I had with my mom at the time was she just thought, I guess she just wanted to think that I was a good kid, or she legitimately thought I was a good kid. Like I was good. I was good with being fucked up around my mom and all kinds of shit. I used to drop acid to just hang out with her on the weekends. She'd want to go clothes shopping for us or something at the byway, and we'd have to go to the mall. So I'd drop a hit of acid first thing as soon as I woke up, just so I could acclimate myself to being high around my mom. So that's the kind of kid I was, I guess. Not fucking out killing people or nothing, but I was sure sticking my fingers in a lot of muddy pies. Yeah. Anyway, so the car stealing stopped, but I still had my door outside, right? So often Wayne would come by at like midnight or 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and just hang out in my doorway. We'd just smoke cigarettes and talk. He was my best buddy at the time, and it was good. It was good times. Now during this year or 2 years, whatever this timeline, my mother had started a new relationship with a fella named Bliss Flower. I think I've told you about him. He was a 6'4", really, really rotund redneck from New Brunswick, and very, very racist. Yeah. And the only thing I ever admired him for was he liked to chew tobacco and dip and stuff, and he had built this funnel in a garden. He took a fucking milk crate or a carton, cut it in half, and attached a garden hose to it somehow, so it ran out the car door, and that was his spitter. When he was driving, he'd just lean over and spit into this fucking funnel. I thought it was brilliant. But that's the only thing I ever admired him for. Anyhow, yeah, he was a straight up fucking Canada hillbilly, you know what I mean? And he hated the fact that I was a punk rocker, right? Like, because, if, him and my mom were getting married, like, I'd be one of his kids, and he didn't want his kids running around being a fucking punk rocker. He was real intolerant fucking son of a bitch, You know, so my friend Wayne, he was like the total, this is right around 84, where the punk rock look was just starting to manifest, like that uniform that they have now, with the mohawk and the leather jacket and the big boots. That was all just coming into style in that scene at the time. So Wayne always went full out. He always had like big mohawk. He had a couple tattoos. And that was big for, being a kid. Like homemade tattoos. That was pretty ballsy. Um, he was a tough son of a bitch too, man. I used to, cause when we were kids, punk rock kids, um, there was a lot of fighting because everybody hated the punk rockers. This is when I say punk rock was dangerous. It was dangerous for us, because all the metalheads hated us, all the fucking snooty rich kids hated us. Uh, you know, Only a few of the girls in high school would hang out with us because they were just like us. You know, um, yeah, and but the thing with the metalheads is this was now punk rockers and metalheads are like one thing, you know. But back in the day, um, we were at war, like constant war. Like if a group of punks ran into a group of metalheads, there was going to be a fight, and there always was, So yeah, like I got in a fucking ton of fights in grade 9 and 10, and Wayne would go look. I would do it, and I would fight in self defense, right? Wayne would go looking for fights. He was a fucking built like a brick, man. Just not an inch of fat on his body, kind of thing. Big muscles. He was pretty well. He had a good physique in our early teenage years, and yeah, and he'd fucking pound the crap out of anybody. A nice guy to have in your corner, like if somebody fucked with me and I lost the fight, he'd fucking jump in and fucking smash the guy, right? So he's kind of good friend to have that way. But yeah, I don't know what I was going at. Other than we used to steal his dad's car. That was a lot of fun. Um, yeah, I was just thinking of my younger days. And doing this YouTube channel causes me to reflect a lot on my life. And, it's been good for helping me relive memories that I have. And, but everything I usually talk about is like, my post Oakville time when I lived in Peterborough, and most of the stories are music stories. But yeah, back when I was, the few years between turning a teenager and moving to Peterborough, like that was crazy times. But yeah, it's funny, man. The fights we used to get in. I remember once we were hanging out late at night one night, and just drinking beers and fucking around. We used to like to soak baseballs in kerosene or fucking gasoline or whatever the fuck, and light them on fire and kick them around the schoolyard. that was our, that was like good times when you're fucking high as shit and you're just a kid in Oakville. So we were doing that one night, just fucking around, messing around, and like I said, whenever a group of metalheads and a bunch of punks kind of met, there was gonna be a fight, and that's exactly what happened. We were all hanging out in front of my friend Donnie's house, and drinking and smoking and whatever. And, there was about one, two, three, there was about four of us. Me, Donnie, Wayne, and my friend Eric. And Eric I'm still in contact with. He's Eric Ducky Jensen. He's a fucking cool cat, man. But yeah, so, it was late one night. We're all hanging out, drinking in Donnie's place. Donnie's mom was never home, so we would always be drinking and smoking there. And we're just hanging out in the driveway, and a group of I think it was it was pretty equal. About four metalheads came up and wanted to fuck with us, right? And they wanted to fight. And, they kind of approached us, and, it wasn't like, oh, hey, how's it going? Let's have a fight. They just kind of rode up on us and just started swaying, right? And they totally sucker punched my friend Wayne. And now Wayne was a tough guy, man. He would beat the fucking living hell out of anybody. But they jumped him and they got him. They got him, in a bad position. And it was basically these, like, Wayne and this guy, what was his fucking name? Marinus, I think. He was a fucking tool. Yeah, so he sucker punched Wayne and had him on his back and was, just fucking smacking him up. And Eric stepped in and he had a big ass buck knife, and he just fucking went up to the guy and grabbed him by the shoulder and stuck the knife into his back. And not like stuck him, but stuck it in maybe that much, not enough to touch any organs or anything, but enough to know that he was getting poked. And so yeah. And Eric said, "Now, I got you, and if you fucking don't lay off, this knife is going into your back." Because, and so the guy fucking, realized the severity of what he'd kicked off and kind of let his hands off of Wayne. Wayne got up. Eric still had the knife in his back and was kind of, guiding him with it. And fucking, it was like that, like Eric kind of guided him out to the road with the knife in his back. The guy was fucking scared so bad he wasn't trying to fight back or nothing. And just moved him out to the road and, called his buddies over and said, "Okay, I'm giving you a count of 3 to run, and if you're not out of here, this knife, you're not gonna be out of here because I'm gonna fucking stick you up." And they fucking ran, they ran. This guy had blood running all down his back. It was pretty fucked up, but yeah, my early teenage years were full of mayhem. Let's just say that. A lot of fighting, a lot of bad behavior, a lot of acting out. It's funny because, like, I'd often come home and get drilled about something from my mom, and I'd just be like, "Seriously, do you think I would do that?" Like with the car thing, "Oh, Darby's mom saw you running out of your apartment, getting in the car." I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Would I do that?" And I always got away with it. Anyway, yeah, I was kind of getting around to Bliss and Wayne. Anyhow, Wayne used to come by my apartment still and hang out by open my door. I'd open my door. We'd play some tunes, smoke cigarettes, whatever. He might bring a little Mickey or something to drink, And we were doing that one night. We used to do it all the time, And anyhow, we're out there. We were sitting there one night smoking cigarettes and drinking some gin. And my fucking stepfather, at this point, he was my stepfather now, comes out in the backyard with a fucking shotgun pointed at Wayne's head, you know? And he's like, if you don't fucking get out of here, I'm going to blow your head off, you little punk, you know? And Wayne just fucking took off running, you know? I had to explain the whole situation to him next day at school, but I was fucking super mad at you know, I'm like, dude, you fucking pulled a gun on a fucking 14-year-old who was hanging out with me. Like, what's your fucking problem, dude? You know? And he was like, I don't want invaders in my backyard. I don't want anybody. You know, this is like, fuck you, man. So anyhow, so after that happened, Wayne wouldn't come around my door anymore, but he'd still want to come around. He'd often be kicked out of the house or something and just need somewhere to hang out all night. So he'd come, knock on my bathroom window. I'd fucking boost out of my bathroom window, and there was a little alley, like, kind of next to my house. Like, that's when I jumped out the window, I was in this little alley. And we'd just kick it in the alley, right? Just sit and keep out of sight of the fucking step monster, you know? But, good times, that's for sure. Being 14, punk rock, high on everything, and ready to go, you know? I remember the very first time I tried opiates was with these guys, Wayne and Donnie. We always have the hash. We'd smoke a lot of hash together, and anyhow, Wayne came over with this chunk of hash that had like flecks of shit in it, like little white flecks of stuff. And he's like, "This stuff is the bomb. This is the fucking killer fucking hash." So we smoked it, and we all just fucking went like, it was just dreamy. It was like, whoa. And we all had to lie down. Donnie had a big water bed, which was awesome because we all just kind of lay on the water bed and rocked back and forth. And we're like, Wayne, what's in that hash, dude? And he said, it's heroin. And we were all just like, oh, wow. You know? And so yeah, that's the first time I got high on opiates. It was in Donnie's basement with Wayne and Donnie. I'm being really reminiscent. I hope you're all following my story. People who watch my channel seem to like my weird ass stories, so that's why I'm telling this one. Yeah, it was crazy being a punk rocker in the city of Oakville, town of Oakville, in the '80s. Man, it was you had to be ready. You had to be ready because someone was gonna fucking fuck with you. You know, and the older we got, the more the cops were fucking with us too. Like we'd be skateboarding. Like I'd get off my job at the health food store and I'd skateboard back home to Kerr Street and the kind of the what they would call the ethnic part of town in a totally fucking 99% white bread town. There was one street that had like a Portuguese market, Italian bread bakery. You get Chinese food down there. You know what I mean? It was really just the coolest part of Oakville, and that's where I lived. And you know, so I'd get off work and I'd be having my skateboard and skateboarding home, and this happened all the time. You know, as soon as I got on my board, I mean, boarding was legal at this time. But we got harassed all the time anyway. So I'd be skating home, and there would be a cruiser who would just follow slowly behind me, right? And I'm just like, fuck you. You know, the cops, like, you know, when we got to be around the age of like 16, 17, we were all kind of hanging out downtown a lot more. And we were kind of like a little gang, you know, or at least that's how people would see us. We weren't really a gang, but we were a group of people who all looked weird and hung out together and fought a lot. So, And there was this one cop, man. I won't name his name, but there's this one fucking cop, and he was like the prime harasser, right? Now, a lot of my friends at this time were homeless because they all got kicked out of the house for drugs or being a punk rocker, you know. And that's what a lot of parents did back then. You know, when they didn't like what their kid was into, they'd throw them out of the house because that's going to help everything, right? So a lot of my friends were living on the street in Oakville, which was kind of funny town to live on the street in. But they all lived down at the park by the waterfront, right? And because it was easy to be discreet or whatever, you know, that you could go right down to the water. That's where you could party and drink beers. Nobody'd fuck with you. But once you came up onto the grass, man, and I saw this happen once. I was hiding, but this officer and his fucking partner would, you know, roll up on the crew and grab one of them and throw him against the car. No arrest being made, no nothing. You know, just throw them against the car, and they'd have phone books, and they'd fucking beat the tar out of them with these phone books because you know, you get hit by a fist, you know, it's gonna leave a mark, it's gonna leave a bruise or a welt or something, right? And but if you use a phone book, it doesn't leave anything, but it hurts like hell. And yeah, I watched that happen once to my buddy Mike. Got the fucking shit beat out of him by these two cops. Fucking sucked. Yeah, he was one of the kids who got thrown out of his house for having a mohawk. Okay. 2 years later, he was dead of a drug overdose. You know. So yeah, good parenting with that. But yeah, I could go on all day. This is so early in my life. But anyhow, yeah, I just wanted to tell you a long rambling story because people seem to like that, and you know, have a dip with you all here on a nice Saturday morning. So I hope you're all well. I hope you're all feeling good and living your best life, and you know, keeping the PMA, the positive mental attitude, and yeah. So I'm tacking a tune onto this video, or maybe you've seen it already if I put it on the front of me playing a Chuck E. Weiss song. A lot of people think it's a Tom Waits song because Tom Waits covered it, but it's a Chuck E. Weiss song, and that's where I learned it from. And the reason I say that is because everybody always tells me I'm a Tom Waits rip-off. So, but anyhow, it is what it is. I hope you're all well, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks for all your views, your comments, your subscriptions, and yeah, be well, everybody.